Hello, my charmed ones, and welcome back to my channel for another video. It is officially that time of year again, mid-year reset time. And I wanted to put together a really super simple mid-year reset process for you to up-level your life over the next 6 months. Because if you know anything about me, you know that I'm all about setting goals, making sure that we're in alignment with our goals. And I really, truly believe that people who set goals consistently and work towards them consistently are more productive, they have better lives, they get more of the outcomes they want in life. And I want to show you one of the most essential routines that I do as part of my goal planning and my yearly planning process, really, that really helps me to achieve more during my year. So the vibe of my mid-year reset, it has everything to do with this wonderful quote that I read years ago and I'm absolutely obsessed with. It says, 6 months of hardcore focus and alignment can put you 5 years ahead in life. Never underestimate the power of consistency and desire. And I truly believe in this. So this is the energy with which we are going to approach this mid-year reset, understanding that right now we are halfway through the year. And if you think that that's not enough time to achieve your goals, you are wrong. You really can take a small period of time and get a lot of work done when you are focused and consistent and in alignment. So if you were like me and you did set goals at the start of the year, it's very likely that those goals are not entirely on track anymore. And so this process is going to help you get realigned with your goals so you can spend the next 6 months achieving more than most people achieve in years. Sound good? And if you did not set goals at the start of the year, what I want to make clear is that although this is a wonderful process, it's not the actual next step that I would recommend for most people to take. So if you haven't set your goals yet at the start of the year, I want you to know it is not too late. Like I said, this is the mid-year time. It's like a second New Year's in the year. This is a perfect time for you to go ahead and set your goals if you weren't able to do it at the beginning of the year. I know so many of us get so overwhelmed during that transition time for New Year's. So you may have had like the best of intentions to set goals and just didn't get to it. And I want you to know that this isn't a situation where, oh, I'll just wait until next year to set my goals or like 6 months from now. I think the best time to start your goals is right now. So if this is you, if that's the situation you're in, I want you to go ahead and grab my You Got Goals planner and workshop. That's going to help you choose the right goals. It's going to help you break them down into action plans and help you learn how to track them across your year so you have a balanced year, not an overwhelming year, right? And we're talking about the next 6 months at this point. You can absolutely set your goals and just have the plan made for the next 6 months. It's totally easy. So the product that I'm going to go ahead and leave linked down below is This Is Your Year. This is my goal setting classes and planner bundle that has you have options in there for You Got Goals, which is the personal goal setting planner and workbook, but there's also an option in there if you want as well. You can get the CEO retreat, which is for business planning. Again, it is not too late to do your business planning. We're not going to be talking about business planning today in this video, but I just wanted to remind you guys, if you need a business planning process and you haven't gotten one yet, go ahead and grab the CEO retreat, or you can get both of them. You can bundle both of them and save. And you know what I'll go ahead and do for people who are watching this video? I'm going to go ahead and leave a secret discount code down in the description for you to get a percentage off of any of these options that you choose for This Is Your Year. But I would recommend starting with You Got Goals. There's a planner and some workshops in there for you to actually set your goals the way that I recommend. And it's a really great proven method. A lot of people have so much success with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the outline for this mid-year reset. It's going to be broken down into 4 parts. Phase 1 is going to be the goal reset. Phase 2 is the vision board reset. Phase 3 is the goal life realignment. And phase 4 is goal life organization. So the point here is that we're going to go ahead and reset our goals, right? And get the rest of our life in alignment and organized so that we can achieve those goals. Okay, so jumping into phase 1, the goal reset. What I want you to do is go ahead and grab any materials you have for goals that you did set this year. Maybe you already went through You Got Goals. Maybe you have some other goal planner that you use or process. I want you to grab all of that material and I want you to look at each of your goals and ask yourself 3 questions. And I would recommend that you journal this out, either write it down in a notebook or, type it in a notes app, whatever works for you is totally fine. So question number 1, or prompt 1, is what progress have I made on this goal and what is left for me to do in order to accomplish it? Look, some of your goals maybe actually are on track, which is wonderful. Some of your goals may be like a little bit off track, like you started working on it and things got a little shaky, and some things may be completely stalled. I want you to identify exactly where you are in your progress for that goal and what is left for you to do so that you have achieved it. Prompt number 2 is what obstacles have stopped you from taking action as expected, and is this still something worth prioritizing this year? Okay, so for each of your goals, again, you have likely, if you are not entirely on track, you have likely experienced some obstacles you didn't expect. I want you to clearly identify what those are. And I want you to ask yourself whether or not this goal, you're going to do this for each individual goal, is still worth pursuing this year. Okay. And what that means is, yes, I am saying that you may be dropping some of your goals right now, which is totally fine. If you're anything like me, I set way too many goals at the start of the year. And, we get overwhelmed, right, as the year progresses. And I think this is a great time to check in and see which goals we actually think are worth it for us. Not to mention, lots of things in our life change sometimes. So sometimes our goals actually change and we keep working towards things that don't make sense, right? It doesn't mean that you're never going to achieve a goal, saying that you're not going to move forward with it for the next 6 months. It just means that it's not a high priority right now. And so there are other things that you really do want to move forward. And those are the things I want you to continue with. Okay. Now, once you have gotten clear on those obstacles and where and whether or not these goals are still a priority to you, I want you to ask yourself, which goals am I committed to pursuing for the next 6 months? And what objectives do I need to achieve to complete them? Okay. So in question 2 or prompt 2, we've really gotten clear on what the obstacles were, on whether or not we really think it's worth prioritizing. And we're actually going to solidify them here in this 3rd prompt. So I want you to go ahead and say which of your goals you still want to move forward. It is totally okay if you drop some. I'm telling you, it's totally okay. I would rather you hit some goals at the end of the year because you had a manageable workload than, take this really big workload with you into the end of the year and then get overwhelmed and drop it all, right? We know which one of those situations we would prefer, okay? And so for each goal that you are going to continue with, I want you to clearly identify what objectives you still need to achieve based on prompt number 1, right? What is still left for you to do? Now, if you're not familiar with the way I talk about goal setting, objectives are the actual action plans for how you're going to achieve a goal. So if the goal is the what you want, right? Then your objectives are how you're going to make it happen. And I consider that objectives take 3 forms, right? So the first form an objective can take is a project plan, right? Just like an actual process, step-by-step process that you do once, and once you do all of the things, you have the result. The second form an objective can take is a system, which is very similar to a project plan. It is a step-by-step system of tasks that you do to get a result, except with systems, you do them over and over again, right? So you're going to decide the frequency the system needs to be done, but it's not like a project plan, which is one and done. Systems, they need to be, redone over and over and to achieve and maintain your result. And then the third form that an objective takes is a habit, right? So a habit is like a single action that you will take on some sort of regular frequency. Again, you are going to decide that. So you're going to make a list of what the goals are. And under each of those goals, you are going to list out what the different objectives are, right? Because for many of your goals, there's going to be multiple objectives. And then what I want you to do is I want you to assign 1 to 3 objectives to each of the next 6 months. So I've made just like a little box template for you guys to kind of, you could, mimic this if you want to on your own, but we just want to say, what are the 1, 2, 3 things I'm going to do every month, right, that are moving these goals forward. And it may mean that some of your objectives, right, especially if they're habits or systems, they may appear in multiple months. That's totally fine, right? But we don't want to get overwhelmed. We want to make sure that we stay focused, right? So we're going to put 1 to 3 in each of the boxes, and that's plenty of space for you to get so much done on your goals by the end of the year. Okay, so once you've gotten clear on what your goals are that you actually want to move forward, we're going to move into phase 2, which is the vision board reset. And so essentially, I'm telling you that we're going to create a new vision board for the goals that you're working on this year. So what I want you to do is take all of those goals that you are moving forward, and I want you to get clear on what your future will look like when you achieve each of those goals. And I want you to think about it and feel and just like imagine yourself in the situation of having achieved the goal. And you'll see some images in your mind. And then I want you to go ahead and go on the internet. I like to use Pinterest for this, but you could search anywhere on the internet. You can look in magazines too, but I find that magazines are very limited. So the internet is where I like to go when I want to make like a vision board quickly, specifically Pinterest, like I said, and go through and search for images that fit that vision of what you see in your reality, okay? Make sure you choose images that seriously inspire you. I don't want you to put any meh images in there. You need to put images on this vision board that actually evoke feeling, like you see it and you're like, yes, this is perfect. This is what I want, right? That's what we're going to do. Another little tip I have for you is that I want you to try to avoid using faces, especially if they don't look like you or aren't pictures of you. You can go ahead and put pictures of yourself on your own vision board. There's nothing wrong with that. What I like to do is I like to blur out faces or find a way to cover a face like strategically when I'm kind of building my like collage, because if you're seeing someone else, you're not able to see yourself. You know what I mean? In living that reality. And we want to really be able to see ourselves living that reality. So I like to use Photoshop. That's what I do when I'm creating one of these like, vision board collages. You could also use a free resource like Canva or any other collaging app to create yours, or you could print out all the images and then collage by hand if that's what you prefer. I just like to do it digitally because it gives me the ability to create multiple versions of my vision board so that I can put it in different places. So I like to make one that's like a landscape and one that's like a portrait orientation. So like the landscape will go on my laptop and my iPad, and then the portrait orientation could like go on my phone, and I can also put a copy of it inside of my planner, which is awesome. Now, I just wanted to give you guys, a little example here. I just did mine, right? So here are my 2 versions for the next 6 months. I really didn't change any of my goals, but I did refresh my vision board because I just felt like I needed new energy. Maybe it's the summer. There's so much more like water in this version. It's probably because it's the summer and all I want to do is like water sports right now. But there's pools, there's sailboats, right? There's a lot going on that's a little bit more maybe outdoor, but I'm really obsessed with this, and you'll see that there are plenty of like pictures of other women in there that like generally have a similar look for like what I would say my look is, right? Like dark hair, medium light to light skin. But I've blurred their faces, right? So I've taken these pictures, blurred their faces, so I can like imagine myself in that vision. Right. And if you can notice if you're breaking down all of the images on screen, I didn't actually use all of the images from the landscape on the portrait. They just didn't fit very well. I can sometimes like force it, but I decided to just leave a few things out that I thought were just like extras that weren't necessary. So you could do that as well. It's okay if the versions are a little bit different. Just make sure like when you look at the final product, it's representing all of your goals in one way or another. And that's what's going to be incredibly powerful for you and moving you forward in your goals over the next 6 months. Okay, now we've made it to phase 3, the goal life realignment. Now, the first activity I want you to do in this phase, right? Once you've reset your goals, once you've broken down the objectives, once you've built the new vision board, the next thing you're going to do is you need to decide which habits are going to help you reach your goals. There is a quote that I love that is often attributed to Aristotle that says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit." And I find this to be very true. So many of the goals that we set for ourselves aren't just things that we want to experience once. They're things that we want to actually build into our life consistently, which means they have to have some sort of habit, right, that's tied to them that helps keep that goal like staying consistent and stuck in your life, right? And so I want you to look at all your goals and decide if there's a habit. You probably know like which habit you need to change or add into your life for each of your goals, but think about the goals and the habits that are actually going to help them to come to fruition. And I want you to clearly identify them. Now, if anyone is stuck I've done a whole bunch of research on success and how to achieve your goals. And what I have found is that there's actually 7 habits that I call the self-mastery 7 daily success habits that are proven time and time again to help people achieve pretty much any goals in their life. So those 7 habits are mindset work, movement, planning, cooking, learning, connection, and sleep. And to break them down specifically, some of these actually do have like science-backed parameters. So for mindset work, we're talking about journaling, affirmations, visualization, or meditation. If you can do, you don't have to do all of those every day, but if you can choose to do like one from that list most days of the week, you are going to help expand your mindset, which is actually going to help expand your personal development and really help you to achieve any goal that you've set for yourself. Not to mention, you can integrate specific mindset work in, and we're actually going to get to this in phase 4. There's actually specific like mindset work that you can actually use with affirmations that target like your limiting beliefs and negative self-talk that you can integrate into this practice that really help you to support whatever goals you have set for yourself. Number 2 is movement. And specifically, this is one of the science-backed habits. Specifically, we're talking about doing 150 minutes of zone 2 cardio per week. Zone 2 means that it's 60% to 70% of your maximum heart rate. So you can go ahead and calculate your maximum heart rate. There's plenty of like tables for free online. I think it's based on your age. But you'll take your maximum heart rate and you can calculate what 60 to 70% of that is, and that's zone 2 cardio. This means 30 minutes of working out, 5 days a week. And that's actually what I've started doing. Okay. So that's movement. Number 3 is planning. Of course, we know that being someone who can consistently plan right before they take significant action, that is going to make you so much more successful in all areas of life. But for the purposes of this habit, I would say that if you can be someone who sets their top 3 every day and builds their daily schedule, so you know what's coming up, you know the due dates, you know where you need to be when, that is going to go a long way to helping you be more organized and focused on what your priorities are for each day and get them done and have more success in general in life. Next is cooking. I know this might be a weird one to put on there, but home cooked meals are more nutritious and cost effective, and time after time, the habit of being someone who cooks is always shown to be something that gives you way better results, especially with your personal energy management, okay? So definitely start cooking more at home. Avoiding packaged foods is so important because home cooked meals are made with like fresher ingredients, whole food ingredients that have a lot of the nutrients that you don't get when you eat out or get takeout or get packaged food, right? And so I know that like cooking is not something that many of us want to do every single day, which is why I'm someone who meal preps, right? This is why I meal prep, right? So that I can have home cooked food without having to cook every single day. So there are ways to adjust these habits so that you're eating home cooked without having to like spend like hours in the kitchen every single day. Next is learning. So learning can take a lot of different forms. It could be reading fiction or nonfiction. It could mean taking a class. It could be watching educational videos or listening to podcasts that are informative and educational as well. Anything you can do that exposes you to new ideas is going to help build the neural pathways in your brain and make you more intelligent, right? In a variety of different ways. Okay. So learning is something you definitely want to prioritize doing in one form or the other every single day. Next is connection, spending time with people you love. And I don't just mean like sitting down and watching TV with like your family. That's fine, right? That's good and nice. But I'm talking about actually making a real connection with people, talking to people, being present. How often are you with your family, but you're not really fully present with them, either because you're busy doing something else or they're busy doing something else, like playing video games or being on their phones or playing around, right? Actually having dedicated time to be present with one another and interact does so much for our like stress levels, and it increases so many of our happiness hormones. So it's important to do that every single day if you can, with your family, with friends, whoever you can connect with. Even if you have to do it over the phone, it's not the best, but it's better than being isolated and alone. So I want you to reach out to someone every single day. And then finally, sleep. You need to protect your sleep at all costs because sleep is one of the most important and productive things you can do any day of the week, right? It really goes a long way. Studies have shown that most people actually are sleep deprived, and sleep deprivation is the equivalent of being like drunk. So if you are sleep deprived, you are basically doing the same, activity levels, output levels, cognitive levels as someone who is intoxicated, right? So we really want to make sure that we're protecting our sleep and not treating it like, I hate that quote that says, oh, I can sleep when I'm dead. Yeah, that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't sleep, you will be dead sooner, right? So we know this. So let's use what we know and put this into practice. And I'll say that for all of these, I think for most of these habits, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that these habits are on the list. These are things we hear time and time again are so important. But common knowledge is not always common practice, right? So to help you to solidify these habits and help you to remember them and to prioritize them, I've gone ahead and made a little planner card for you guys to download if you want to. It's a freebie. I'll leave the link down below. You can download. It's like a one-pager that I made for you guys that has this little design on it that you can print and put in your planner or anywhere, anywhere. You can leave it out. You could clip it on your refrigerator, whatever you want to do, just to remind you of these habits. And it has a little bit of info on the habits on the sheet as well. So if you want to get that, the link is down below. So that is the first step of phase 3, the goal life realignment. For step 2, I want you to create a default weekly schedule to be your template for your week, right? Where you're going to make time for each of your goals and time blocks for focus time for your priorities. And here's an example of mine right now that has, basically I've time blocked all things in my week, right? There are certain things that are consistent, right? My morning and evening routines, my meal times, when I walk the dog, things like that. But then I also have time blocks for specific things that I work on throughout my week that are goal related and work related, right? So some things you want to make sure to put in your weekly schedule would be your morning and evening routines, time for meal planning and prep, a cleaning routine, your themed work days, if you're able to theme your work days the way I do, and dedicated time blocks for any of your goals, right? So that is the next step I want you to do, is to actually create this default weekly template. It's going to make planning so much easier, because how often do we say we don't have enough time in a day? That's right, 24 hours is not enough time to get everything done, and yet so many of us are trying so hard to get it all done in one single day or touch all areas of our life in one single day. But when we can zoom out to a week, then we have 168 hours. That's so much more time to schedule things in. So think beyond what you can move forward in a day. I know this is a transition for most people, but if you can zoom out and look at your week as this basic unit of your task management, you will be able to touch all of your priorities and set aside dedicated time over the course of a week so that you have, time spent moving everything in your life forward, right? Without overwhelm. So that is step 2. And then step 3 is to create an ideal daily routine to be a template for your day where you're going to make time for each essential habit, including fitting in that self-mastery 7 habits, right? So here's an example of what my daily routine looks like, right? From morning to my evening routine, where I've laid out essentially what I do in specific time blocks, right? So an ideal daily routine is one of those things where if you have a concept of what your ideal day would look like, it's not always going to follow that way. Your weekly routine is not always going to follow that routine perfectly. But by setting up this template, you are encouraging yourself to be able to move through this process and create this routine for yourself, which is going to build that habit and make it such a stronger habit for you that it'll make you feel so much more in control of your time each and every day, right? So the idea is not to make this perfect, that you're going to be able to follow through with it every day, right? And you want to make sure that you add things in like white space so that your day isn't overwhelmed. But having this template is going to make your daily planning easier because it's formulaic for you. Whenever we have a template or a formula to follow, it becomes so much more reliable. Okay? So that is the third phase of the goal life realignment in phase 3. Now it's time for phase 4, the goal life organization. And there are a couple of different steps in here as well that I've broken down. So step number 1 is how does your current environment support or hinder your goals? Okay. I want you to ask yourself this question. This means your physical environment, the people in your environment, and your mindset. We need to organize our life, right, in a way so that it will support our goals. So that's the first question I want you to ask yourself. And I've made like a little template here that you can totally borrow, right, where we break down each of the three environments: the physical environment, which would be like your home, your office, your personal spaces, the people who you spend the most time with, and then the third environment is your mental, so your self-talk and your limiting beliefs. And I want you to identify how each of these areas are currently supporting your goals and how they're currently hindering your goals, because it's not most likely all or nothing for either of these categories. There are things that are actually working well that you want to keep, and then there are things that are not working well that need to change, right? So I need you to clearly identify how that's working for you right now. In step 2, I want you to ask yourself, what areas of your home, your office, or other personal spaces need organizing or optimization to bring you into alignment with your goals and ideal life? So we're going to take basically the things that we said were hindrances in the first one, and we're going to break those down. Now, there are a few sort of tips that I have for you guys here. Number 1 is that I think that something everyone needs to do is to define a daily uniform template and then clear your closet of like excess items to make dressing easier each day. Look, if you've never heard of an ideal uniform template, I'm actually wearing my ideal template today. It's basically a formula for how you're going to dress based on like your personal style and like what you like to wear and like the formality that you dress to. I always like to use the example of Steve Jobs. He was a really good example of someone who had like a daily uniform. If you think of Steve Jobs, you probably think of like black turtleneck and the blue jeans, right? Now, his daily uniform is a little bit more severe, because it was like that seemed to be the only thing he had. Like his whole closet must have been blue jeans and black turtlenecks. But you don't have to be that strict, right? Like for me, my summer template is like a linen button down. I have a bunch of tank tops as well, and I've got linen shorts or linen pants that kind of go with them, and I've got them in a variety of different colors that are all interchangeable, and that becomes my template so that getting ready in the morning is so much easier. Look, I only bring this up because research has shown that so many women have closets full of clothes and yet struggle to get ready in the morning. They say that, have you ever said that before? Like you're looking at your closet full of clothes and said, I have nothing to wear today, right? So this template actually helps you to get organized and get your day off to a good start without feeling like, oh, I've got nothing to wear, I don't look good. I want you to have really high confidence every single morning. So consider putting the daily uniform into practice. The next tip I have for this is I want you to create a list of items that you may need to purchase to better set up your spaces, right? When you think about how your home and your office and your other spaces are put together, sometimes optimizing them might just mean you need to like purchase some sort of organization, right? Thing. So you have places to put things, right? So I want you to make that master list, because it might be something very simple where you can just purchase some things, when you have the budget for it. And then I also want you to create a list of areas in your home that you need to spend focused time reorganizing. This is going to be a little bit more of, an in-depth list in terms of it's going to take you a little bit more time to work through this. But by clearly identifying where you need to like reorganize and change things so that it's more optimal for you, you're going to be able to take each one of those little mini projects and, schedule them out over the next coming weeks so that over time, your life is more in alignment with the achievement of your goals. Okay. So that is phase 4, part 2, or step 2. For step 3, I want you to identify who in your life brings you the most stress or drains your energy. Again, going back to the first question, we identified people in our environment, who's supporting us, how are they hindering us. Now we actually want to identify who the problem people are, right? And what limits and boundaries we need to set with them. So I made this little, this chart for you where you can list out the name of the person. You can identify the boundary that needs to be set. And then very importantly, I need you to create yourself a little plan for how you're going to communicate this boundary to them, right? Because so often we know the people that we have problems with and we think, okay, this is the boundary, but we never actually communicate to them. So it never actually gets withheld. We just kind of start acting a different way. And sometimes that'll defer people from, using your time and energy, but usually it doesn't. Usually these things require some sort of communication so that you can put the line in the sand and say, this is the boundary, please respect it. And then, see how things go from there. So this is step 3 of phase 4. I want you to actually identify who those stress people are, the boundary that needs to be set, and how you're planning to communicate the boundary to them. And then finally, Part 4 of phase 4 is, what is your self-talk like? So when you think about your goals, what limits do you see to your potential? A really quick way to identify your limiting beliefs is to ask yourself this question: why won't this goal work out for me? Right? If you can say that, ask yourself that for every single goal, what you're going to find is that you're going to have an answer that comes out that actually reflects a limiting belief that you have in your mindset. And so for each of those limiting beliefs you're able to identify, we need to find evidence or craft an affirmation that we can use to challenge it. And again, once we have these things, we can integrate them with our mindset work, that daily mindset work practice, in order to help shift our mindset and help us break through the limiting beliefs and obstacles that are keeping us from our goals. So I have a couple of examples for what this might look like. So limiting belief number 1 is, I can't get healthy. My whole family is out of shape. If that's you, a piece of evidence that you could turn into like an affirmation could be something like, there are so many people who came from unhealthy families that made a change and ended up inspiring their family as well, right? Because that's true. This happens. Yes, being in a family that is out of shape is probably the reason why you are also out of shape, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't be the person who changes it for yourself and for everyone. Next limiting belief is, I can't start a business. This niche is already too saturated. Well, you could remind yourself that a saturated niche means that there's plenty of business opportunity if you show up in a unique way, right? You could use that affirmation anytime that thought comes up. You can replace it with the new positive belief. And then finally, I'm in my 40s and still not married. I'll be single forever. You could tell yourself, people get married and divorced at every age. The right person for me is out there somewhere also looking for me, because that is the truth, right? Like, we don't want to be limited by the worst case scenario. We want to see what possibility is. And when we continue to look at possibility, instead of looking at what limits us, then we're able to actually be inspired and take action and find creative solutions that help us break through to achieving our goals. Okay. So that is part 4 of phase 4 for your goal life organization. So I've got a question for you now. Are you ready to spend the next 6 months working on making your goals and your best life happen? You could massively uplevel your life and achieve your goals with the right strategies, accountability, and coaching. So the Charmed Life Mastermind has what you need to succeed. The Mastermind is a low-price subscription membership similar to a Patreon, but organized on a private membership site with a mix of live classes, on-demand tools, and a community where you can get inspiration, solutions, and coaching from me each day as you need it. Here's what members are saying about the Charmed Life Mastermind. I've just pulled a couple of these snippets, and if you look at the sales page for the Mastermind, you'll see so many more reviews and like in-depth stories about our members. The first one here says, Alexis, I just joined the Mastermind earlier today. I haven't been a member for a full day yet, and OMG, I already watched 2 archived classes. I have learned so much and can't wait to wake up tomorrow and learn even more and do it again the next day and the next day. I feel like I got my money's worth and more in what I already learned in less than a day. Thank you, Stephanie. Next, we've got Alexis. Yesterday's session was so good. I was particularly excited about the self-mastery versus time management part, so I went to our Charmed Life membership to listen to last month's office hours replay. I hadn't had the chance to do it, and it was exactly what I needed to integrate. So this morning, I'm psyching myself up for my activities for the day using the strategies and mindset shifts you talked about. It's amazing how after only 3 days, I'm seeing significant changes in my perspective. Also, I just loved Monday's analogy of success being like a wave in physics, so on point. Next one here says, I've been truly struggling with identifying priorities and narrowing down my goals. I watched the July mid-year review masterclass, and it was game changing for me. Something finally clicked, and I was able to identify my true goals and priorities based on my current life situation. And I'm so proud of this. I think Alexis is a true subject matter expert, and I'm so glad I decided to join the masterclasses. Keep it up, Alexis. You are changing lives for the better. And then finally, I had someone who messaged me, my pleasure. Joining the mastermind was the best decision I made in 2023. I'm sure they probably sent me a testimonial that I put on the sales page, and that was their response when I said thank you. So that is what members are saying about the Charmed Life Mastermind. Right? The Charmed Life Mastermind is a planning, productivity, and personal development community for ambitious women like you, where you can learn research-backed productivity strategies, you can access science-backed tools and get accountability and coaching on demand from me to create your best life. So I want to let you know the link is in the description to enroll now. Next month, July, our mastermind class is all about going in depth planning Q3. So once you do your mid-year reset, you want to get granular with your plans. That's what we're doing starting, in July. So get into the mastermind now. It's a wonderful time for you to go ahead and do 6 months of hardcore focus and alignment that can bring you years ahead in life. Definitely the Charmed Life Mastermind has everything you need in order to achieve that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope that it was valuable to you. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to go ahead and give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it with anyone you think would find it helpful. For more of the behind the scenes of my productivity, life, and business, make sure you're following me at MissTrenchcoat. I've got my handle right there for Instagram. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more awesome videos by me. And until next time, bye-bye.